Hello, my name is Trip Stylick, and I am a sea bunny slug who likes to read lots of books and basically anything that can be read primarily. Whether that's comics or visual novels or just books, I'm gonna read them. And I realized I had never done an introduction, even though I've done quite a few of these wrap-ups so far. But hi, that's me. I prefer to present as a sea bunny slug on the internet. I hope that doesn't deter you from, listening to my thoughts on these books, and maybe it'll help, help you decide what your next read is. Yeah. This is my May and June reading wrap up, everything I read in May and June. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do one in May due to life complications, but I'm happy that I'm able to have enough, or I had enough time to record this review. I did it live with my audience on Twitch, which you can always join. I usually will do a reading wrap up on like the very last weekend or like the very first weekend of the month, or just the first few days of the next month. I'll announce it at some point in the community channel before I do it on YouTube. But yeah, that is all. I guess, yeah, I just wanted to say hi because I realized I never had, to everyone on YouTube. Hello, hi, how are you? What's your favorite book? What do you recommend that I read? I'm always interested in knowing what other people read. But I guess, to not delay things further, enjoy the video. Hello. Okay, so yeah, I have the May, June wrap up and more. So I read, how many books did I read? I don't even know. I could count. Hold on. How many books did I read in May and June? Let's count before I get into it. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4. I read 4 books and 1 manhwa to completion in May, and I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books in June and 1 additional completed manhwa. So yeah, I guess for me, when it comes to reviewing manhwa, it's just gonna be like when the series completes. Like if the series isn't completed, I'm probably, unless I'm like, I think I need to like, I want other people to like, I really want people to know about it and they need to read it too. I probably won't talk about it too much, or maybe I'll just make another, like, I'll just have another stream talking about it. But yeah, I have 2 to talk about today. So that's kind of exciting. I also realized I have never gone over like my rating stats, like, or not rating stats, like what they mean, what the stars mean, because I go by like a 5-star rating when I do these kinds of wrap-ups, and I do a 10-star rating on the book club because we just arbitrarily decided 10 stars, even though I like 5 stars more, but it's fine. It was like a group decision. So let's go there. So I have to move out of the way though, because my face is in the way. Maybe this is good enough. Let's see. Well, I mean, it's fine. My head's only like kind in the way here. Well, that's not me. I'll just, here we go. This is fine. Hi. Okay, so yeah, like I said, chat is not available, but I'm still reading chat. So yeah, I have like 5 through 1 stars, but I've never rated anything 1.5 stars, so that's just like the ambiguous one right now. Because I feel like if I rate something like a 3, what does that mean? So yeah, 5 is that I loved it and I would read it again. Probably like, I would read it again and recommend it to people. 4.5 is I loved it, but I can tell like it's not that special. Like, how do I put this? Like, the book was great, but it's not going to sit in my mind for like a long time. It was just a good time. And it was better than a 4, because a 4 is like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd easily recommend it, but there's probably something that I didn't quite enjoy as much that prevented it from being a 4.5 or a 5. 3.5 is the same thing. Like, I liked it more than it was just fine, but I had a lot more issues than if it was a 4-star. 3s are usually like, this book was fine. Oftentimes it's deeply fine, but there are always exceptions to the rules, and I will have a lot to talk about that today. But in any case, 2.5 is, there was something redeemable enough to get it that 1/2 star, because 2 is like, I read it, but I didn't like it. Like, it's readable. Like, it was like easily consumable enough to get like a 2-star, but I still didn't really like it. And 2.5 just meant there must have been like some sliver of hope in the book for me that I enjoyed or something. I really don't know what I would rate a 1.5 because I feel like the difference between 2 and 1 is so big. Like, for me, a 2 is like, somebody probably likes this book, and a 1 is like, I don't think anyone's gonna like this book. A lot of the time it wasn't for me, and I didn't enjoy any of it. So there we have the scale. It's honestly like, it's just like, it's all arbitrary anyway. I just thought it might be helpful because, like, what do you think because my idea of a 3.5 is probably different than somebody else's idea of a 3.5, so maybe I thought it would be good to have a reference in mind. I don't know. You missed the star amount rating? I had forgotten this message, but I forgot. Oh. It's okay. It's okay. I need to move back over, though, don't I? Yeah, so I'm going to go from books I did not finish, did not complete, so I don't actually have a star rating for them, to my highest rated books in between both May and June. May and June are just, like, combined all together, and then they just go from, like, lowest star rating to highest star rating. So, but first, starting with the books I did not finish, and I'll talk to you why I did not finish them, and maybe be able to give you what they're about, so maybe they could be for you. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. So the first book, I think I need to move back over, though. Let me move back over. Bop, 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 bop. Yeah, I can move here, and then I'll be in a safe spot for the rest of the time. Yeah, the first book is Chlorine by Jade. I really tried to read this book. I really tried. Oh gosh. Okay, so this book is, before that, I will read a comment because it's going to be easier for me to read this than talk about the book. Oh, right, 3-star rating. It's a book, I think. Yep, definitely one of the books of all time. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. That's very succinct and correct. So yeah, Chlorine. Chlorine is a book. It's Jade Song's debut novel. It's not a long book, so I thought I'll give it a try. It's about a girl whose parents, well, she's also a Chinese immigrant, and her parents, they immigrated from China, start a new world, but her dad returned to China because he wasn't having a good time of it, so he's like, I'll just be able to make more money back home and then send it to you so you guys can live, so you, my family, can live, like, a better life. But she has because, like, she has this, like, partial loss, she's kind of, like, dived completely into swimming. She starts doing competitive swim, and then the beginning of the book even starts off with her being like, well, I used to be a girl, but now I'm better than anyone that ever exists because I'm not like anyone else. I'm a mermaid. And it's supposed to be really creepy. It's supposed to be like a coming-of-age spooky story. I think it's supposed to be a lot of things, but I just was so, like, I was not interested in this 13-year-old's weird state of mind because she just, I don't know, creepily fixated on anything gross that happened to her. And I get that that's an aspect of growing up, absolutely. But it was just like, why? This isn't even spooky or scary. It's just gross. And I just was not entertained by it. I think other people may find this book to be more interesting, but the thing is, this happens to me a lot, and I had to put it down because I realized where this book was going. It's a book that says it's a horror book, and it's not really going to be a horror book at the end. I'm like 90% sure. If you've read this book and have, like, you know, it gets really scary at the end, tell me, because I could just tell it was going to be like a Universal Harvester, which is a book I read several years ago that just wasn't scary at all, and I thought it was going to be somewhat scary. I also can't handle horror very well, so maybe it's good that I just, like, gave up on it. So yeah, Chlorine by Jade Song was definitely a DNF, or a did not finish. Which, for those not in the know, that's just like an acronym that people that read a lot of books use, I guess, a lot now for a book you didn't finish, because that's literally what it means. The next book is a book that I want to complete but cannot complete this year. And that is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zoulfa Katouh. This book takes place in... Oh no. Oh, I'm gonna get the word wrong, so I'm gonna get the country wrong, so hold on, let me look it up. Disappointed that it wasn't actually a horror book. Also, Slug remembers that I know. I do it a lot though to myself where I'm like, I really want to read a book like that, and then I'm like, wait, I don't like that though. So then I stop. There we go. I got it now. Okay. So, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grows is a book that takes place in Syria, like during the Syrian war that happened not that long ago. Can't remember how many years, but it's like it's still kind of ongoing, you know. Or at least tensions are. The main character is trying. Well, she was trying to get a medical degree of some sort. She wanted to be like a nurse, but basically the war broke out. Her brother and her dad went away to be part of the army or the rebel army. Can't remember which one. I'm very, very sorry. It's been a while since I read this at all. And then her mom and her sister-in-law like stayed behind. Her sister-in-law is pregnant and she's trying to take care of her, but her mom recently died in like, you know, a very tragic way. And while that wasn't too much for me, I think it was just like the compounded like gore and sadness and war that was just a bit too much for me right now, just because my life is not the happiest. So reading about from a perspective that's just like so horrific, it's like I don't think I can do that right now. I could tell that this was going to be a very like heartwarming story in the end. Like the main character meets a boy and they like bond over liking a Studio Ghibli book or movies and stuff, but I just couldn't do it right now. So eventually I think I will read this book, just not this month and maybe not this year. But I tried. It wasn't even written poorly or anything like that. It's just something I couldn't personally do right now. Like Darius said, I can't handle horror well. Like it wasn't horror as in the horror genre, it was horror as in life horrors. Like war horrors, which I also didn't want to deal with. Don't really want to have to force myself to read something that's going to make me so sad. It's always a rom-com in hiding. Right? I know. I know. There is that, though. That's not, I don't know, appealing or not appealing. Actually, yeah, I suppose I should warn everyone. I read a lot of romance, not on purpose. It just happened to be, like, that's the next thing that, like, was available at the library and stuff like that. It is what it is, but we'll get into it. It's not all romance, though. I want psychedelic and mental horror, not comedic romance. This is definitely not a comedic romance. This is like drama, like a, I guess, war romance. I don't know. Survivor romance. I don't know. Drama romance is worse. Well, this definitely isn't for you, Dara. All right, moving on to I actually think this is my 1-star, my only 1-star read of the year. Or so far. Books aren't for me. Yeah, that's fair. Hey, you're still here though. Thanks for being here. Okay, so the 1-star read that I have is, oh dear. Well, it's a book I really, really wanted to like. I really, really wanted to like this book so bad. So I received an advanced reader's copy of Araña and Spider-Man 2099 Dark Tomorrow. So this book is a Spider-Man novel, like a written Spider-Man novel, not a comic book. So I was like, oh, my neighbor is mowing their lawn. If you can hear them, I'm very sorry. That was their first mistake. Yes, you're right. So this is about Araña, who's otherwise known as Anya Corazon. She is, she's a spider. She's a Spider-Man. And she gets taught how to do things by this other dude that has like time travel powers, but he dies, and then she's like trying to like figure out how to be a Spider-Man on her own and gets sent off to 2099, in which she meets Miguel O'Hara, who's like, I don't want to be Spider-Man. Blah, my family is dead. Blah, blah, blah. I'm boring. And that's the entire book. That's like the most interesting part is her like randomly traveling to the past. I would say any action sequence was just horrible to read, because I think action sequences can be written well, but for Spider-Man, it just doesn't work. Spider-Man is too flippy, too movie, moves too fast. You have to see it on screen or in like drawn to really get the feel of Spider-Man. So like, even though Araña and Miguel O'Hara were doing cool Spider-Man-y things, I just couldn't really feel it. It just wasn't written in a way where I could really feel like the fast movement was happening that I know was happening. And I actually think a lot of the concepts and aspects, I guess, of Araña traveling through time, you are this. They're literally the same things that happened to Miles Morales in the latest Spider-Man movie with Miles Morales Across the Spider-Verse. So I actually think maybe just watch that movie. It's a great movie. Just watch that movie. And please don't bother with this book. I feel really bad. I wish that they would just make a comic version of it, because I bet it would work. But Miguel O'Hara written is like, he's the most unlikable character ever. Like that I've possibly ever read, honestly, because he's just like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be a Spider-Man. All I can do is brood. And but if you see him like drawn and you just get some of the brooding, but you can like see him doing stuff, I don't know, the kinetic, like, it's not kinetic, I don't know, the visuals of it just make it better, I think. Action sequences are simply different when done book format. It can be done well, but comics and especially movies handle it so much better. I think sometimes action can be done extremely well, and sometimes, like, especially in movie adaptations, they do it poorly in movie adaptations. But like, if it's just like a normal action movie, that it's usually better. Yeah, sure. And now everything is like not so bad. This is like sadly probably the worst book I read this year. I wish that it was good because Spider-Man is still cool. I still like Spider-Man. And I received this book for free for a review, so I felt bad not giving it a very good review. But it is what it is. Now, these next books, we're heading into romance territory, so bear with me. Bear with me. The next book we have is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Now, so it was, it's Pride Month, so I wanted to read some, romance that is LGBT friendly. Positive, actually, maybe even. So I grabbed this one because I was like, oh, cool, sapphic romance. It's contemporary. I had been trying to get into contemporary romance for a little while now. I'm kind of having a harder time of it, but I have had some successes. And Delilah Green Doesn't Care was just okay. What it's about... Delilah. This is Delilah. She has to return to her hometown in the Pacific Northwest U.S. to be the photographer for her stepsister's wedding, and she has a very strained relationship with her family. She doesn't want to go back, but she goes back and she goes to the bar and she sees Claire Sutherland, who is like her childhood crush, bi icon since high school lady who accidentally had a kid like pretty young, so she didn't go to college, so she just stayed, and she owns like her own business and is doing these things, and she's very nice, and is really into Delilah, and didn't even realize that Delilah was her best friend, her best friend is the one getting married. Her stepsister, and the relationships unfold from there. It's okay. This is like an okay book. I think my issues with this book... Let me think about that for a second. My issues with this book were that... Because it's only a 3-star. The author really wanted you to know, like, as the various characters... like, say throughout the book that Delilah Green doesn't care. Like, they say, Delilah Green, you don't even care, like, so many freaking times throughout the book. I was hoping for a lot of character growth and sweet moments between the love interests, but Delilah spends so much time wallowing, it's hard to root for her. But the way the book is actually structured, it didn't feel like there was enough time spent to allow Delilah to, like, grow from her past trauma or the bullying she felt that she got. Like, she was bullied by her stepmother and stepsister to some extent. It was a pretty big part of the book and so, like, the romance didn't even matter. It felt like to certain parts. I liked Claire as a love interest a lot. She's very sweet, and I liked her, like, real, like, problems as an adult, I guess. I enjoyed her side of the story more, because because Delilah Green's story is mostly about her getting along, like reconciling with her stepsister, and has nothing to do with falling in love. But Claire's is about like, is it okay to fall in love even though I have a kid, even though I still have like, I'm still co-parenting with this, with the father of my kid, even though we're not in love anymore. And it actually just, I don't know, there's a lot more nuance with it. I'm not gonna ramble forever about it, but it's like, I don't know. I'm all for sapphic romance, but this was just okay. So MILF, mother in legal form, yes. Mother in legal form. Yeah. It's just okay. I am interested in reading the other books in the series, I think, just because I think the characters are fun, but I kind of think the way everything plays out is just like, okay, but I thought this was a romance novel. I didn't have a better word for that. That's all right. I like mother in legal form. Next book is, oh god, I have to talk about Babel now. All right. Hello again. I decided after watching this again, I feel like I wasn't able to effectively communicate my feelings on Babel in the most eloquent of ways. I stand by what I said, so I'm leaving the clip in, or from the stream. But I feel like I come up that I truly didn't like Babel at some points while I'm talking about Babel, and that's not the case. I actually enjoyed the book. I thought it was fine. There was things I wanted from the books that I did not get. I think R.F. Kuang is an extremely talented writer, and I think that all the points she's making are good and correct. I just felt like she was making the points too many times for me. Like, I didn't need it so many times. But honestly, if you are a reader that wasn't raised in like a setting where you learned about like the horrors of colonialism, this is a perfect book to read because it's very easily readable, and it gives a lot of context for like how the British Empire used, colonialism to get like a evil leg up on the communities and countries that they were like colonizing. By no means do I hate this book. It just wasn't what I wanted. And I think I convey that it wasn't what I wanted, but I think that I went a little bit, I thought I came off as being too negative, where I really don't feel that negatively about the book. I still think it's a good book. It just wasn't good for me. It wasn't perfect for me. I would recommend it to many people though. Anyway, go ahead and watch what I said. Bye. Babel, an arcane history. I don't have a very good. Couldn't find a very good like picture of the cover, so I'm sorry. Babel, by R.F. Kuang. I gave it 3 stars. So, one thing to know about this book is that its full entire name is like a freaking not visual novel, a light novel title, because its full title name is Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford Translators' Revolution, shortened to Babel, because it's a lot easier. Like, I don't need to know, like, the entire plot of the book, but yeah, that's the, like, kind of the whole plot of the book is that sentence right there. Gosh, Babel. So, this book, unfortunately, it's a 3.5, or sorry, just a 3 out of 5 star rating based on my own personal experience, like my own enjoyment reading the book. If I was purely rating it from is this book important? Is it saying the right thing that we need to hear in society today? I guess I would give it 5 stars. The knowledge that the author shares and the unique method of sharing the horrors of colonization and imperialism is really good, I think. This book is about colonialism, basically, in the British Empire, and how the British Empire exploited language to enforce colonialism badness, basically. So the book stars Robin Swift, who is a child in China, and the book literally starts him like realizing that his mother has died, and this man comes in and is like, oh, your mom died, okay, you're coming with me, we're going to Great Britain, come on kid, let's go. And so he goes to Great Britain to live his whole life there, and he studies to become a part of Oxford University's exclusive learning program, which they live in. They go to the it's Babel. It's the Tower of Babel, and they're all language students because there is a magic system where it's more powerful if you're using less used language when you're like engraving these like silver tablets onto like the it's like runic magic. It's like runic magic where you like writing down characters, and so if you like write like fire on a silver plate and then you like are like you say the word, it'll like happen, like it'll like burst out in fire. But like English doesn't have as much weight, like it doesn't work anymore because it's too commonly used, so they're colonizing other, well, that's not the only reason why they're colonizing. They're taking like orphans from the colonized countries to like go study at Babel so they can keep the magic going, because those magic silver plates are like a huge export for the British Empire in this world. So that's like the basics of the book. Robin is challenged with what is right and wrong quite frequently. And it's an interesting concept, but there's a lot that I didn't quite enjoy about it. So to me, 50% of Babel is about Robin Swift. He names himself Robin Swift. That's not like his birth name, but he drops it, his birth name, or he chooses a new name for himself when he goes to Britain. So it's about him and his 3 other classmates that are in like his like year in school, through receiving their education at Babel in Oxford. And then 50% of it is like a history lesson. It's just a linguistic history lesson. Like Kuang excels, like the author, she excels in discussing the linguistics and history surrounding the time period. She does it quite poignantly and in a manner that somehow isn't boring, but like, I don't know, some of it's just very non-fiction-y. And like, I think that I love reading about linguistics and I love reading about books. I love reading books about books, but I just, it didn't, I guess the rest of it, the other 50% is the tale of Robin and his friends. It's not like the, you know, the linguistic side of it, I guess. And I felt like his friends were just not very well fleshed out, but it really felt like the author wanted us to care about them. Like, I wanted to care about Remy, Victoire, and to some extent, I guess, Letty, but it was more just knowing about them because the situation was bad rather than me, like they're in objectively bad situations rather than me feeling really bad, like deep down pain for them. They were just kind of there a lot of the time. In fact, I thought that we didn't receive Robin's friends with their individual backstories until way too late. Like, it was like something important would happen to the character, and then we would get their backstory. And it's like, why didn't you give that to me sooner? Because I would have felt so much worse about this happening if I had known that. I don't know. I guess I wish that they had been earlier because, yeah, I would have just felt a lot more. Because it's called Oxford's Revolution, and I would have felt more for the characters when the revolution started to take off. This book was extremely slow plot-wise, as it felt like the first 50% of the book was just dedicated to the history and linguistics lessons, and then the plot in the second half is just like bang, 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 bang. Things are happening all of a sudden. It's like, dang, I had to read like 250 pages of like history lessons for this. But I also think that the history lessons were kind of like, at first it was like, I get that the author is trying to tell us that the British Empire and colonialism did bad things, and it is bad. Colonialism is bad. But I think this book is marketed towards adults that probably have like an education or even maybe like a bachelor's degree, or they're in college. They're adults or older, basically. And they know that colonization is bad. But I felt like at some point I was like being beat on the head with this particular book that, like, just so you know, colonialism is bad. It's like, we know. Get with the story. Like, you don't have to tell me. You could just show me it again and again. And I felt there's a lot more telling me something was bad than showing me. But there was also showing So then why was there the telling? I don't know. I feel very complicated about this book, and I feel very disappointed in it because it just wasn't quite the book I was hoping it to be, because I love books about books, I love books about linguistics, and I do like dark academia, but this just wasn't it for me. Sorry I talked about this for a million years. I just had a lot of feelings to get off my chest. Yeah, that was the title of the book, that really long title, the full title. Oh, I gotta get a drink of water after that one. All right. So now we can talk about something slightly more positive. Maybe. Yeah. So this was a manhwa that finished this month in June called Observing Elena Evoy that I read all of. It's cute. It was nice. I think it's like 80 chapters. It's somewhere around 80 chapters in total, and it is by Myeongcho. Apparently Myeongcho like also had a published a manga that was a very similar plot to this manhwa, but I haven't read it, so I can't tell you. I can't tell you about it or what the similarities are. But basically, Elena, the purple-haired girl, she is going to a prestigious academy and is trying to get all of the best, she's trying to get the best grades and get the best scholarships, and she is doing a million different jobs on campus just so she has enough money to send back to her mother who's sick. And then Johan, the blonde man right here, is from a very prestigious family. He's everyone likes him in school and everyone wants to be friends with him because they think that he will give them more opportunities for the world and get raising in the ranks of society or whatever. But he doesn't really care about any of those people, and he's really just trying to get straight A's to make his dad like him more, because he's like, why doesn't my dad love me? Throughout most of this manhwa. And he's very frustrated because Elena is getting the top spot. He can't be number one in the class because Elena's there. And so he starts following her around and seeing everything she's doing, and eventually they start falling in love and other things, lots and lots. There's political drama, there's cute inter-school cultural fairs and exchange student stuff. They go to another country and they have fun experiences. It's just cute and warm. I think the last season of it, I guess the last 20 chapters or so, were super rushed. I think they maybe should have explained what was going on a little bit more, because I started getting a little confused. Because there was certain aspects of Johan's life that needed to be more expanded upon, because they drop a truth bomb and you're like, whoa, but then they don't really talk about it ever again, and I really wanted to get just a little bit more information to really understand what Johan was doing as a result of that truth bomb, but it wasn't there. But yeah, it's a cute time. If you want to read a romance fantasy manhwa, I recommend it. It's very cute, and it's not that long. It's 80 to 88 chapters, something like that. But yeah, Observing Elena Evoy. Very cute. Not the best, but still very cute. Oh, they have fun, all right. Yeah. Yeah. It's cute. I think one of the tags that's on it is pining, which is really silly. It's what do you mean pining? Unrequited love is more appropriate of a tag, I think, for this manhwa. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. Yes, and so I received an advanced reader's copy of Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. I gave this 3.5 stars. So this book is I don't know what genre this is. It's young adult, but it's fantasy romance kind of, because it's Arthurian, but Arthurian legends are a thing of the past in this world, but the Arthurian stuff is still prevalent. It's weird. Anyway, that's why it's called Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. So basically the story is Gwen is the princess to not the King of England, but basically the King of England. And she is expected to marry Arthur, who comes from a noble family that they were, what's the word? They have had an arranged marriage since they were very little. and they're just expected to marry each other, except they hate each other. They hate each other's guts. And they ultimately, their parents decide, like, you're not going to hang out for each other until you're, like, both of age, because you just keep, like, pulling each other's hair out and breaking each other's limbs. So they don't until they're both, like, 18-ish. And so they have to, like, spend the summer together. And everything is going not well. Not well until Gwen, like, she leaves, like, a party to go get air or something, and then she sees Arthur making out with a boy in the horse stables. Dun dun dun. So basically Gwen's like, what, you're gay? And he's like, yeah, well, you shouldn't tell anyone. Or I know you like the lady knight that's competing in the knight contests that are happening right now. That's a plot point in this book. And she's like, well, no, I'm not gay too. Yeah. And then they basically bond over being gay, and stuff happens from there. They come to an agreement, basically, like, okay, we have to have, like, an amicable relationship, and we have to pretend that we're getting married, and then we'll help each other. Like, we won't rat each other out, basically. This is a very cute story. I did really like it. I think sometimes the way it's written, I think Gwen is not very likable for the first chunk of the book. She's just kind of reads as being mean for the sake of being mean, which can be fine in a character. I just wasn't that into it. I found Arthur himself was fantastic, and I wouldn't have minded to have the book entirely from his perspective. It's dual perspective. I found his romantic relationship to be more compelling than Gwen's in the end too. Gwen needed more scenes just, like, to get to know her knight in shining armor, I felt like, because I feel like they were just suddenly in love. So I wasn't quite as interested in it, I guess. Things get a little disjointed in the last, like, chunk, 25% maybe of the book. Like, the author had, like, more ideas than they were allowed to write. Like, they were like condensed for page concerns, I guess. But ultimately, it was a really fun read. And I think a lot of people are going to like this book. Yeah. I think it wasn't as enjoyable of a story as I wanted it to be, and I don't mean enjoyable in, like, a fun way. I mean it in, like, I wanted to feel for these characters more, but I didn't, on the side of Gwen and her love interest. I did feel that way about Arthur and his love interest. But yeah, it also gets really dark at some point, so maybe look up the content warnings if you're worried about it. But yeah, Horse Boy. What do you mean Horse Boy? Hi, Chaos. How's it going? Oh, because he was making out with the horse boy. Yeah, you're right. No, he was like the stable master. He wasn't the stable master. I think he was just like, they were just making out in the stables. It wasn't an actual horse. He was not a stable hand, though. He was, what do you call it if you take care of dogs? He was a dog take carer. They just happened to, yeah, houndsmaster, that's right. They just happened to be in the stables because that's the most convenient place to make out and not have anyone look at you, I guess. So yeah, that's Gwen and Art are not in love. It just came out. Well, actually, I think it came out already. Here, I should look. Gwen and Art are not in love. I don't know if it came out in the US already. Yeah, it was published already in May. So we're good. Yeah. I was surprised I got an advanced reader's copy of it because I was like, wait, wasn't this book already published? It was, but it's good. Anyway, moving on. Next at, whoa, there we go, 3.4 stars. Sorry, it's not anything. It's 4 stars. Is Ayesha at Last by Uzma Jalaluddin. So I specifically picked this book because it is a Muslim romance novel, and I wanted to read a romance novel that was just purely romance and wouldn't make me feel weird with poorly written sex scenes. And I was like, I know that this book is not going to have that. And it doesn't. It doesn't. It's actually a very sweet, nice novel, romance novel. Ayesha at Last is kind of like a retelling of let me remember, the Jane Austen novel Pride and Prejudice, because Ayesha has pride and her love interest Khalid has the prejudice. What a checklist of requirements to have for a book. I know. Look, I just was like, look, I'm so sick of reading. Like, I would like read a romance novel and everything. I would like everything about it except for like the sex scenes were just not my cup of tea. That's how I feel about Delilah Green. Delilah Green doesn't care. That's how I felt about Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I also think I just don't like it when it's in certain places. I guess I don't want to like spoil it. It's just uncomfortable. Anyway, Ayesha at Last. It's pretty much actually Pride and Prejudice, but it is like from like a Muslim family perspective. This book was really fun. It's really fun to read. I'm happy that I read it, and I would recommend it to people pretty easily. I don't know. It didn't actually feel like Pride and Prejudice, other than the fact that the two main characters have their Pride and Prejudice traits, but the surrounding plot is not at all like the book Pride and Prejudice. Like, yes, there's a character that's Lydia, who's being dumb, doing things to inconvenience Ayesha, but basically, Ayesha is unmarried. She's unmarried and she's like 30, so like, oh no, she's like older, and is not perceived as being very appealing. She didn't want to have like an arranged marriage, which is quite common in her culture. She wanted to like find someone on her own, and anyone that she has like met up with is like, well, you're fine, but I don't really like you like that. The same thing for Khalid. Khalid is actually he wears like the more conservative robes that Muslim men might wear or do wear. And so he's considered to be more, he's like, even among the Muslim community, he's considered to be like way more conservative than everyone else. And so he gets like a bad rap that he's like unfriendly and he judges other people, even though he actually kind of doesn't. He just does. He just wears them. So I actually kind of thought it was nice, because usually you would think that people would be rude about a Muslim woman wearing hijab, but really it was about Khalid wearing the more conservative clothing, those white robes. I can't remember their name. I'm sorry. Which was interesting. I think I really liked both Ayesha and Khalid's stories on their own, and seeing how each of the characters navigated them. Ayesha was especially a badass, and while I wasn't sure how I felt about Khalid at the end, because he's not really that prejudiced or even that judgmental, he just makes some like bad statements and bad takes at times, I guess. The two characters do have really adorable moments together, but I felt like I was left wanting more because of the drama caused by the Lydia character. I give it a pass because the familial drama was super fun to read about. Like, the aunties in this book made the book really good. Like, they were all like digging into each other and trying to stick up for Ayesha and all the other characters. It was really good. However, I did find the antagonists to be comically awful. Like, literally no one would like these people. Like, they're that bad. Like, they're so objectively evil. It felt like the antagonists just exist to create the conflict rather than like cause like, I don't know, a moral quandary or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, those are bad people. They need to be out of your life. So yeah, Ayesha at Last was a lighthearted, fun romance with some good family dynamics, I think. I liked reading from a perspective that I don't see a lot in media, and I would love to read more from this author. I think she just came out with a book called Much to Do About Nada, which is about a girl named Nada. So I might read that. I might read that this year. But yeah. Also, I joke about being allergic to paper and books, yet I watch Tale Foundry quite often. It's okay. The thing is, reading is not for everyone, and that's okay, because there's other ways to experience the written text. Like, you could listen to audiobooks, or you could just wait. Like, a lot of things get adapted too. So shrug. It's all good. So yeah, that's a Ye Shall Last, another romance. I'm sorry, there's a lot of romance in here. In fact, I'm kind of out romanced now, and I'm not reading romance at all right now, currently. So yeah, we have This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I talked extensively about it was our May book club pick for the Star Select book club. And I talked about it extensively there. I gave it a 4.5 stars here because I think it's still like, it's so short and it's so, I don't know, effective at what it's trying to do, and it's a fun way to have written a book. So this is an epistolary novel. Epistolary means that it's written in letters. These two characters, Red and Blue, they're like little birds on the cover. They are writing letters to each other in more and more complex ways, and they are fighting in a time war. So one of the characters will write a letter, and then they'll put it in like a tree, and then the other character will go back to that point in time, but it'll be like back to that world, but it'll be like 100 million years in the future, and they have to chop down the tree and then find the little letter in it. That sort of thing. That's not actually something that happens in the book. It's just like an example of what could happen in the book, I guess. I thought it was a perfectly fine time. It's hard for me to give it a really like to really get into the plot, because like it would just spoil it, because it's just not a very long. It's not a very long book. It's just a novella. But the prose was fantastic. The purple prose is strong in this book, but it was self-aware that it was purple prose. It also has my favorite style of writing. I love epistolary-ish writing, like with letters and mixed media and stuff like that. I think people will complain about this book because not a whole lot happens in the first half, but it's all set up. It's literally all set up. And I think you'll find that because it's a time travel story, it'll all come back around. It'll have purpose. I liked how it was done, much more than other time travel books that I've read recently. Blue and Red were lovely to read about. The relationship and dichotomy in their factions and their different ways of thinking. Like one side is very mechanical and the other side is very organic. Honestly, I feel like people should just listen to it. It's like a 4-hour audiobook, or go read it because it's only like 200 pages. I don't think you're gonna be like, I regret that. I would be like shocked because it's just not that long, and it's pretty enjoyable, I think. So yeah. After that is the second book club pick that we had for June, which, oh no, it's not. Never mind. I forgot I put this in here. So the other manhwa that I was reading that finished this month was The Royal Princess with Black Hair. What is with manhwa having like the most boring titles ever? That's my main complaint about manhwa. Like, this probably should have been called something like I don't want to get married to you, or something like that. I don't know. Which I don't know if that's any better, but I really liked this one. It's been going on for a while now and just ended. I think it's just over 100 chapters by ELLIAN. The story involves this Eurytion, I think is how you say her name, and Caruel, the prince. This is like the prince of the kingdom, of one kingdom, and she's a princess of a different kingdom, and they have an arranged marriage, and they're supposed to get married to unite the kingdoms. But they have extremely like individualistic, strong personalities, and do not want to get married to each other at all. And and gradually they're just like kind of going about their lives and kind of avoiding each other, but it's really hard to avoid each other because Caruel is an extremely popular boy and people are trying to like do bad things to Eurytion to get her out of the way so they can marry Caruel instead. And that kind of exposes an entire political plot that spans like slavery, regicide, bad things. It's actually quite interesting, I think. Both the characters are really active in this story, and they both do a lot of things. Even if Eurytion is not as good at fighting, she just uses her very clever mind to come up with solutions, and Caruel is more like the slashy slash. I stab things and fix things quickly type of character. I really liked it. It's also a romance fantasy. I actually think it's worth a read. It's again only 100 chapters. I really enjoyed it. It's cute and would give me enjoyment when I had a hard day. It was one of the manhwas that I genuinely looked forward to. I gave it 4.5 stars because I do think the ending had a plot point where I was like, what? And I thought that the plot point that they were opening up was going to like give us like another 100 chapters because it was like that. It opened the world up so much, but it didn't. They were like, oh yeah, that's a thing. We're gonna deal with it right now, but don't worry about it too much. Yep, and then meditashi. So that's a Japanese friend. Then they lived happily ever after. Which I mean, is it? Do they? Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, royal princess with black hair. If you want to, I don't know. I recommend it as like something to read before going to bed. Now I think it's the book that I was initially speaking of. It is Last Night at the Telegraph Club, yes, by Malinda Lo. We read this for our June pick for the Slug Club Reading Club. Star Slug Reading Club. Last Night at the Telegraph Club was an excellent book. As you can see, it has won many awards. It is a young adult historical fiction novel about a girl living in the Red Scare and the Lavender Scare, and she is realizing that the person that her entire culture is trying to have her like become her grow up to be, she's realizing that that may not be who she is, and she starts falling in love with one of her classmates, and they start going to this telegraph club that is mentioned here. I don't know if is that showing on the... No, I don't think it showed on stream. It's weird. My presentation's getting kind of weird here. Yeah, overall, it's a really wonderful book. I really think it's absolutely worth reading. It's very educational. It's from a perspective that I had not read much. I think there are flashbacks in this book at the end of each part. There's 6 parts, so this book, and each part will have like a small chapter that will go back to they'll jump you out of the story, and it'll go to like a different point in time for the adults in Lily, the main character's lives. And I think they're okay, but some of them are unnecessary, and I would have preferred to see just one chapter in Kath's perspective. Kath is the love interest. Kath is a very quiet person, so all we really get to know about her is that she's good at math, she likes airplanes, and she's queer. And that's kind of all you have to know. But I also understand the author's choice to not have Kath as a perspective in this novel, because the story is not about white queers, it's about Chinese American queers. So I understand not having it. It just would have been like the icing on the cake for me, I guess. So yeah, 4.5 because I didn't totally love the flashbacks, but still I think it's worth it. There's a companion novel that came out last year that I'm very tempted to read this year too, if I can make time for it. Maybe we'll read it for the book club if we feel like it. I don't know. We'll see. I returned having my plate of pizza carcasses back into the kitchen. What? What an interesting statement. All right. Pizza carcasses? Okay. Well, if you want to share with me what those are, I'm very curious. Let's look at the next novel that I read. Oh, thanks, Zex, thank you for the hydrate. Just to weird you out. Oh, okay, no, I understand now. You had your plate of pizza carcasses and you're taking them back to the kitchen. I thought you were bringing pizza carcasses back to your table for some reason. I was like, why are you bringing just the crusts back? But they mean crust, yeah. So this is one of my 5 stars that I have read in between the time of May and June. It's Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. So, I read this book as part of my I'm reading like I have like a, what the heck is the word? Reading challenge. That's the word. I have a reading challenge that I'm doing where I have one prompt every month and I have to read like one book that meets the prompt for each month, and the prompt for May was like a flavor. So I initially went with that book, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, but I could not personally read that book right now. So I went with Honey and Spice because romance is a safe bet where I won't feel like I'm being traumatized by the book. Well, we'll see. But anyway, Honey and Spice is honestly a wonderful book, by Bolu Babalola. Bolu really knows how to write romance. This is her first like full romance novel. She's written like a collection of short stories, but this is like the first big one, and it's a lovely story. It is. I almost think I need to like look at my review of it to tell you, because I read this like 2 months ago now. Yes, so it's about Kiki. Kiki's the main character. She runs a very popular radio show on the campus that she goes to. She's in college, and she like gives advice to the girls on campus, like, don't date these guys, or you're worth a lot more than guys that are just fuckboys and things like that. And she's like warning people like what not to do, and like to value girls should value themselves and stuff like that. But she finds out that this one new guy on campus is he's dating a bunch of girls at once, and she's like, well, I'm gonna warn everyone to just break up with him because he's a waste man. No one should talk to him. And so he is like, what the fuck? And he approaches her. He approaches her at the club, and they like kind of have a conversation that could have been perceived as that they were like dating all along, and so they actually end up getting into a fake dating relationship because Kiki needs to expand her radio show in order to like win a scholarship. She needs to like do something extra, I guess, for the radio show. And Malachi, the love interest, he needs to work with someone that has an eye for making like a program, I guess, quotation marks. So he has an idea for part of his like independent film that he's making, something like that. Anyway, their ideas like match, so they end up having to work together, and to do so they have this fake relationship, and things grow from there. Wasn't Where the Lemon Trees Grow also a romance? Kinda, but it was also about trauma, and I just was not into it right. I can't do that right now, unfortunately. And Honey and Spice is not quite that dark, or really that dark at all. I actually think this book was just fun and good. It's a romance that I was wholeheartedly interested in, and I was not icked out for the entire story. Yeah, Kiki and Malachi's relationship was just great to read about. There's a lot of really fun, like, early aughts music references. The cast, like, all the other characters feel really well-rounded and fully fleshed out characters. Like, they're not just, like, side characters that you just see once. Honestly, I'm going to continue to explore the romance genre throughout 2023 still, like the rest of it, but I think I'll slow down because I read so many in the past 2 months. But I don't know if anything is going to top this book because I think it was just so good. I was pleased to see that although Kiki comes off as being like, she's confident to the point of arrogance at the beginning of the book, to the point where I was like, I don't know if I like her. I was happy to see that she has like way more layers to her personality, and they revealed themselves over time. Malachi was also just a true gentleman. Even though he was dating a bunch of girls, he was like, but I told them that there was no strings attached. And then, like, he has to be told that, like, maybe you should be, like, very, very clear and not, like, lead people on. Anyway. He's very kind to Kiki. And even though he has his own, like, bad things in his past that he has to overcome, like, they both help each other with it, I suppose. I don't feel like both of their pasts were resolved at the end of the book, but good enough to the point where I thought that it was like a satisfying ending. And also he was like, Kiki has like a really nerdy interest, and Malachi was just like really into it instantly. Like, I don't experience like anybody, like, even for a friendship, like, you meet somebody and that person is like suddenly getting really into whatever you're into. Like, that's just such a nice relationship to see blossom. I don't know. I liked it. I think I'm like rambling, but that's fine. Whatever. That's the point of the stream. And despite its feverish attempts at reaching some semblance of logic, it only ever grasps at clutches of logical insanity at worst. Wait, what? I don't know. Are you talking about Honey and Spice, or are you talking about Where the Lemon Trees Grow? Darren. I don't know. Or was it, are we talking about pizza crusts? Are we talking about pizza crust still? What are your feelings on pizza crust? Drop a comment below for the VOD watchers. When you were saying they were at the club and they somehow, insanely somehow, came up with the conclusion of, no, see, they don't come up with the conclusion of fake dating right then and there, but it's implied through like social media posts like, oh, this guy was actually just dating this girl all along, and she said she wasn't going to date anyone, and she said he was a terrible person, but actually they're dating, and it turned out into like a really bad like social media scandal, I guess, but they spun it into the wait, we're dating all along, haha thing. I don't know, it's not that realistic, but it was really fun. Anyway, I would love to see it if it was a movie. If they made it into a movie, it would make a fun, like, dumb, it's been Saint Talk. Oh, well, whatever. I had fun with it. Anyway, let's move on. Another 5-star read I had was Rose House by Arkady Martine. Now, if you've been around for a while, hold on. We'll get to Rose House in 1 second. What about all the other girls he was dating? Wouldn't they have a piece to say? No, they were mad, but then they were like, oh, you were actually dating him? Oh, well, it's fine. I mean, it's not really that cut and dry, but I don't want to spoil the book. You have to read it for yourself, Dara, if you want to know. And I know you're not going to, but it's just not, I don't know. Anyway, things are okay in the end. Some things are a little convenient, but I still had fun with the book. Anyway. Rose House by Arkady Martine. If you've been around me, Trip Starlight, for a little while, you'll know that I love Arkady Martine as an author. I adore both of the books in the Takes-Clan duology, A Memory Called Empire and A Desolation Called Peace. And Rose House was an independently published novella that just released like a couple months ago. I finally received my physical copy of it. So I read it in like one night because it's like 120 pages or something like that. And it was fantastic. I loved it. It's so good. So I can't say too much about this book, but basically it is an extremely modern, like, AI smart house-ish take on the what is the book that it's based on a little bit? The gothic horror story, Haunting of Hill House? Haunting of Hill House? Whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, you probably can type those words in and you'll get the right one into Google. Anyway, Rose House is a succinct, timely retelling of the classic gothic horror story that I was entirely fascinated throughout the entire book. It really was a horror story. I'm not a biggest fan of horror because I'm a big weenie, but I do think there was something special about taking a classic gothic horror story and reimagining it into things that we as society fear that will affect us soon in our current day, I guess. Rose House is genuinely a creepy AI. There are really weird visuals throughout the book. And unsettling language rules. I love that Arkady plays with language in such a very unique and, in this case, scary way. Martine executes the writing just so beautifully. The prose is very much more experimental and dreamy than the Takes Kalan series, where I think it's much more structured. But I think it helps the book be even more of a creepy experience, and it's much more immersive of an experience. The writing is a little disorienting at times on purpose, so keep that in mind going in. But it's a short book. You'll understand what's going on at the end of it, I think. And if you've read The Haunting of Hill House, you'll know what's going on, I think. But it's a good time. I'm not going to say too much more than that, because there's more than just it being an entire retelling, but it basically is a retelling. Yeah. There's indeed a thing called Haunting of Hill House. That's what it is. Yep. Yeah, I for some reason, I want to call it The Haunting of the House on the Hill, even though that's not what it's called. It's The Haunting of Hill House. Anyway. Yeah, this book is great. Super awesome. I also love this cover. I think it's so beautiful. It's cool. And probably the most unique cover that I've seen so far this year. Anyway. Yeah, Trips, you're thinking of the board game when you say that. Oh, yeah, Betrayal on House. Yeah, you're right. Classic Slumby being Slumby. You're right, I'm thinking of Betrayal. Betrayal on House on the Hill or whatever it's called. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the last book I read within May and June, which was Bloodchild and Other Stories by Octavia E. Butler. Now, I don't have the 5-star rating here, but it is a 5-star read. This was a collection of short stories and a couple essays. Octavia Butler, if you've never heard of her, is definitely considered one of the best authors in for modernish sci-fi, 20th, 21st century sci-fi. Every book I've read by her is just amazing. I can't even express the ideas that she has are just so how did those fall out of your head? How did that happen? How was that an idea? And I'll get into it in a little bit, but this is a collection of some of her crazy ideas, and I don't want to get too far into them, because most of these you can find on the internet for free to read. I just had the physical book I got from the library, but most of them you can find somewhere. Bloodchild has won awards, and I think that's why it was the cover title, I guess, for the book. But I decided to do this kind of in a different way. I decided to have it, this was my reaction for each of these titles. Now I'm going to move so you can read it. There we go. Yeah, so... so for Bloodchild, oh my god, Bloodchild is 30 pages long and horrified me. It's so scary. It's a book about pregnancy, but not the kind you're thinking of. It's about an alien race. It kind of talks about farming, maybe, of the unconventional variety, and that's, I don't know, to me pregnancy is a very scary thing, so I guess no matter what it was going to be scary to me, but the way that it's written was just oh my, I just read a horror story. I didn't think I was reading a horror story today. But it's really good. It's so good. It's shocking and good. I don't know. Just great. The evening and the morning and the night was a very curious story about people are born with a condition where they will gradually lose it, I guess. They'll basically lose it, go nonverbal, and will gradually start to tear their own body apart type of thing. And the main character also has that condition, and she goes to a place where people with the condition they live decent lives, and it's a weird statement on the advancements of technology and medicine. That's what I can say about that without spoiling anything. Like, I can't talk about these too much because they're all very short stories, and I don't want to spoil them, really. Near of Kin is the only story that I didn't really like. I think... It has probably one of my least favorite tropes to exist in literature ever, or just anything, not just literature. If I see it in any media, I'm pretty much grossed out by it. But I get the point that she was trying to make, and I respect it, I guess. Speech Sounds is extremely sad story about, oh goodness, it's a society that basically, I guess everyone basically got a kind of, like an illness, and the illness took away something from everyone. Like, some people can't talk, some people can't see, some people can't, like, move properly. It's about, oh goodness, it's hard to describe these without, like, telling you what's actually, like, going on, like, revealing the whole story. But yeah, it's about a society that's kind of broken down, and how people go about talking when people cannot talk anymore, basically. There's almost no dialogue in the entire short story. It's interesting. It's a really sad book, though. It's kind of like, she wrote this at a time when she really didn't like society very much, because of, society is society, but also some unfortunate things were happening in her life at the time that made her not like society very much. So, yeah. The emoji had me like that sentence had me like the emoji in the second title. Oh, yeah. Oh goodness. But yeah, it's sad. I'm sure you can find it online if you're curious. But I think it's a powerful. The short story is making a powerful statement. Crossover is it's actually the first short story, or it's the first story ever that Butler sold to anyone. It's super short. It was like 6 pages, 10 pages. It's really short. And it's about a girl working at a factory, and how her life is affected, and how she can live her life working at a factory that's slowly, like, crushing her soul. It's like, oh, at the end. That's how I felt at the end. Positive Obsession is a very sweet... Well, she probably wouldn't think it was very sweet, but I thought it was a very nice, small little essay on how she loved writing so much and just kept writing and reading and writing and making a habit of it and just becoming a writer herself. I don't know. It's just a little tiny essay about loving what she does and being and a little bit proud of herself for having made a career of it. And I liked it. Furor Scribendi, which I can't remember, it means something, but I can't remember, is also about writing, a little essay about writing, and it's like, you need to, if you, like, you can believe that you're talented in writing, but it won't matter if you never practice it, so you should write. Like, here are things that I do that keeps my writing to the standard that I have for myself, basically. Yeah, I mean, mania for writing might not even be incorrect. Like, she really just constantly wrote. She just always was writing out her thoughts and trying to really understand the world by writing different... Oh, mania for writing. I guess that is what it is then. Yeah, just she was constantly writing, and she recommended that if you are into writing, you should constantly write yourself too. To write things of quality that other people are going to want to read as well. Amnesty is confusing, as the emoji suggests. I don't know how to describe this one. This is the longest short story in the entire, like, book. The collection, I suppose. It is like 60 pages, maybe it's 80 pages. I don't know. It's about It's about a girl who works for an alien race but the alien race is unlike anything we can comprehend. Like, I can't comprehend it. Somehow Butler did. But she works for them, and they kind of like took over Earth. They kind of took over Earth, and how does she deal with that? I guess she's trying to hire, like, the alien race wants to understand humans, so she's trying to hire people to like work at the alien facility, basically the alien home, stay in the alien home, and she answers a lot of questions about the aliens that she can, and they're very weird. Very weird. I'm pretty sure you can find this one online. I would read it. It's confusing because I can't describe it properly to you. And the Book of Martha is a utopian story, kinda. Martha, it wakes up. Well, no, she doesn't wake up. She's like walking to her kitchen to get a snack, and all of a sudden she finds herself in front of God. And God tells her that she needs to come up with a way to stall the end of humanity. And she has a long conversation with God and comes to a conclusion, and God's like, okay, I'll do that. And that's the story. But I don't want to tell you what it is because you got to read it for yourself. And it's nice. It's a nice little story. But yeah, overall, I think the way this is written is so good. Butler just knows how to write in a way that's so captivating and makes you want to like just immediately read the next like chapter or story or anything like that. Such a wonderful author. It's like every time I read any of her books, I think, wow, it is so sad that she passed too early. But at least we have the novels that she did publish. So, yay. If anything, I do think you should read Bloodchild just so you can be in horror with me. But that's just my opinion. I don't really want you to suffer. So, you know, do what you will. All right. So I've been going for an hour and a half, basically, talking about all the books I read in May and June. Hello, you made it to the end. If you watched this far, thank you. You're amazing. Thank you. That's it for this video. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, as I think I'm supposed to say. I do upload at least twice a month for my book club VODs, but I, as usual, am planning. I actually have several videos in the making right now. This one's an easy upload, so doesn't take as much editing and whatnot, so that's why it's going up now. I hope you look forward to the future of my videos, because I am. And yeah, let's see what I read in July. I'll be back in July for another reading wrap up.